The internet has provided us with a multitude of benefits, including the opportunity to find solace, friendship, and even love. However, for William Melchert Dinkle, the internet was a place where he could engage in some very sinister activities. He did not use the online platform to connect with others or to assist others. Rather, he used it to satisfy a very sinister and awful urge. He manipulated vulnerable young people into making horrible suicide pacts, and then he sat back and watched them take their own lives while they were broadcast live on the internet. This is the story of the nurse who was responsible for the suicide of a number of younger people, as well as a significant number of older people. He duped them into making suicide pacts with him, guided them towards the most expedient means of ending their lives, assuaged their fears by assuring them that they would be happier in heaven if they carried out the suicides. And the tragic part of all this was that he was able to get away with it. After viewing dozens of people to end their lives online, he had to spend only 178 days behind bars. This is because there was no law that particularly addresses cases involving the internet or out-of-state suicides. Now, throughout his career, Melchert Dinkle worked as an employee at a variety of hospitals and nursing homes. He currently resides in Faribault, which is around 45 miles away from Minneapolis. It has been reported to the nursing board that he's neglected patients on multiple occasions and has even been abusive with them. However, at the age of 47, he began to take interest into something else. He started using online chat forums and empathized with people he met online. In this act of empathy, he assured them that the best they could do is to end their life. And once a victim was lured into this web of deceit, he then provided them with specific strategies to end their lives. During one of their exchanges on the internet, he provided exact instructions on how to properly arrange a noose to ensure instant unconsciousness and death. And he knew this because he was a nurse, and his training gave him an understanding of the most efficient procedures. William Francis Melchert Dinkle met his victims in online suicide chat forums, where he posed as a depressed lady in her 20s, using such names as Lee Dow, Cammy D, or Falcon Girl. It is there in those forums where he encouraged dozens of people to commit suicide by hanging themselves over the course of around 5 years. These individuals often committed suicide by hanging themselves. Now it is unknown how many people have ended their lives in that 5-year span due to his alleged advice, but at least 5 different situations have been confirmed so far in the nearest vicinity. His first victim was Mark Dryborough, a 32-year-old British IT technician who hanged himself in his home in Coventry, Warwickshire, England, in July 2005. Mark Dryborough was allegedly chatting online for 2 months with someone using the aliases Falcon Girl and Lee Dow, which was then discovered to be Melchert Dinkle's fake profiles. Dryborough had suffered from a nervous breakdown and depression prior to his death. One of his communications, which he sent under the guise of the identity Cammy, stated as follows: "I'm simply trying to assist you to do what is best for you, not me." During another chat, Cammy attempted to persuade his victim to select hanging as his technique, rather than plunging into a cold river. She suggested that they do it online simultaneously to help minimize their anxiety. But the truth was, he never intended to do the deed himself. Rather, he enjoyed watching people die on live camera. Apart from that, Melchert Dinkle was also found guilty in connection with the death of Nadia Kajuji, who was 18 years old and had become unhappy after moving away from her family to begin her studies at Carleton University in Ottawa, which is located in the province of Ontario, Canada. In April 2008, her body was discovered in the Rodeo River, having been recovered after she had fallen off a bridge. Upon investigation, it came out that Kajuji had also been engaged in online conversation with an individual who was pretending to be a young woman. This individual was none other than Melchert Dinkle, and he'd advised her to hang herself providing her with step-by-step directions on how to do so, and instructed her to record her final moments on a webcam so that she and the others could watch them as part of a suicide pact. She had been chatting with Melchert Dinkel online immediately previous to her disappearance, including on the day of her suicide, according to the police in St. Paul. How he came to light is just another interesting story. Celia, a 64-year-old retired teacher and amateur local historian, was using the internet to engage in intellectual discourse with professors and other enthusiasts on websites that were solely devoted to medieval history. Fortunately for the many kids that she saved, in the summer of 2006, she stumbled upon something very strange online. Upon digging further, her curiosity led her into the shadowy and extremely unsettling realm of the online suicide forum. This is a place where people who are thinking about suicide, some seriously and some not so seriously, meet together to share their ideas and feelings with one another. There, she met with a young girl from South America who was 17 years old at the time, was an active participant in the internet's largest and most infamous suicide news group at the time. The young woman had, unknowingly, been befriended by a deadly predator who went by the name of Li Dao. Li Dao would methodically seek out vulnerable and unhappy people and urge them to take their own life. Despite the fact that the young woman was unaware of this, she had been a victim of Li Dao. In addition to this, she was not the only one who did it. Celia found out that more than half a dozen people had simultaneously engaged into suicidal pacts with the same person. They had all been duped into committing suicide on the same day by the same person. They had the impression that Li Dao was a sympathetic young woman who shared their wish to put an end to everything. She seemed to be kind and understanding. She said that she worked as a nurse in an emergency room and that she was of Chinese and American descent. Celia conducted an investigation into Melchert Dinkel's identification as Li Dao, and as a result, found out that Melchert Dinkel had previously consented to earlier suicide pacts. 4 hours before the girl was scheduled to commit suicide, she was able to persuade her to abandon the suicide pact. Throughout the course of the following year, Celia made numerous posts on various chat networks with cautionary notes regarding Li Dao. She also found out that Melchert Dinkel used other names like Falcon Girl and Cammy D, and she spoke with users who had participated in past pacts in which he arranged for attempted victims to die in front of their webcams. After spending several months compiling evidence of Melchert Dinkel's activities, in January of 2008, Blay and a friend named Kat Lowe planned a sting operation to capture Cammy D in the process of attempting to make a suicide pact. This operation took place about the same time that Melchert Dinkel was exchanging messages with Kajuji. During the course of this discussion, Melchert Dinkel revealed that he had witnessed a man from Birmingham, who he believed to be Dryborough, hang himself on his webcam. Lowe and Blay were successful in gaining Melchert Dinkel's trust and subsequently discovered information that led them to the Minnesota residence associated with his IP address. They were also fortunate enough to catch a glimpse of Melchert Dinkel through a webcam feed, where he was pretending to be Cammy D. Blay contacted the authorities in the area, and the St. Paul Police Department and the Minnesota Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force both agreed to take up the investigation. On March 15, 2011, Melchert Dinkel was found guilty on multiple counts of advising, inciting, or assisting multiple people in committing suicide via the internet. Strangely, the court ruled that under the First Amendment of the United States Constitution, it is legal to offer advice or encouragement about suicide. Also, while it is illegal to encourage suicide in the United States, Canada, or the United Kingdom, no one has ever been successfully prosecuted for doing so on the internet. So Melchert Dinkel was given a 3-year prison sentence, with the condition that he only have to serve 360 days if he successfully completes his probationary period of 10 years. After being freed from prison in February 2015, after spending 178 days, it is unknown how many people Melchert Dinkel managed to convince. And that's how someone had gotten away so easily after killing so many people, just because of a loophole in the justice system. What do you think of this tragic story? Tell us your views in the comments section. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. See you in the next video. Until then.